two leading candidates are worlds apart. In fact, they are clearly differentiated. They are very clear assets, but also very clear shortcomings. Raila Odinga stands out as the candidate who brings the legacy. He struggled about it in the past. He stands for better governance. He's been involved in leadership before. However, he is perceived to be advanced in age, and that is his main shortcoming. On the other hand, Dr. William Ruto as a main asset in that he presents hope for future. This hope will sit in the verbatims that have been said by the voters. However, his main shortcoming is his perception of stained integrity, and that will be a major headwind in terms of convincing voters who are not yet convinced up to now. If we paint the country in the different candidates' strengths, we see that Raila Odinga has 18 counties that already have a voter preference of above 55% for him. And William Ruto has 17 counties where voter preference is 55% for him. We think that could be a clear win for those candidates. However, we have about 11 counties which we present as a battleground. The votes will be decided on how the candidates fare on those 11 counties. And those counties are where none of the candidates has a 55% or a clear lead above 55%. And those battlegrounds are Lamu, Nyamira, Wajir, Mombasa, Kitui, Samburu, Nakuru, Narok, Kiambu, Bungoma, Tana River, and Marsabit. So depending on their activities in the next 7 days, those counties will decide who wins this election. Now let's get to the numbers. The devil is in the detail now. So some of the numbers. We see that about 30% of Kenyans, actually 32% of Kenyans, feel the country is moving in the right direction. Actually, over half, 53%, feel the country is not moving in the right direction. And when you see those who feel so much of that, the country is not moving in the right direction, majority are the older age, and also those in urban areas. So urbanites and those who are in the age of 35 and above feel more that the country is not moving in the right direction. But Kenyans have a wish list of what they want the next government to address. And at the top of that wish list is employment creation. And that is very significant. It's far much ahead of all the other things that they have in that wish list. At the second place is corruption prevention at 29%. And number 3 and number 4 are very much united. That is education access and education quality. Now, important to note is that the leading contenders for this election have so much talked about the first two issues. That is employment creation and also fighting corruption. But we've not had a lot of, campaigns around the issues of education access or education quality. But that stands out. It's on top of the wish list of Kenyans. Next, we asked voters how much they are interested in politics in Kenya. And from that, we see that 39%, just about 4 in every 10, say that I am very much interested in politics. And of course, we see about 20% at the national level who say that they are not interested. Their interest is low. They are not interested. Now, if you look at that deeper, you find that more males are interested in politics at 45%. And then the older population, 45 and above, we find more proportions of those who say that they are interested in politics. Now, when we see more youth and females having low interest in politics, it portends a situation, or it provides a situation where if you are not very much interested in politics, then that also influences, your engagement, how much you are likely to engage yourself in matters politics. You could actually be lethargic, and that will always present the challenge of the quality of the leaders we will elect. If all Kenyans, engaged in politics, then we could easily choose leaders who meet the bracket, because we have studied, we have learned about them, we know what they present to us, because we are interested very much in politics as a way. Next, we talk about voting intent. And this question was very clear. How likely are you to vote come August 9th? And we find 85% of Kenyans telling us they are I definitely will vote. We want to present this as the number of the likely voter turnout, 85%. We wouldn't really, talk loudly about those who are somewhat unsure, or those who just tell us definitely they won't vote at all. But if we combine that particular group together and ask them, why are you not definitely sure that you will vote? We see that 31% of that number tell us that they see no reason for voting. That's voter apathy. And a further 25% tell us that, this will not influence my life. It won't affect me at all. I'm not interested. But we have an 11% who feels that the elections won't be free and fair. And a 9% there that we need to point out, who think or who feel that the elections may have a level of insecurity. So they are afraid. They don't want to vote because of that insecurity. And of course, all those other reasons that Kenyans give for the low voter intent, the 15%. When we look at this deeper, what we're calling now the voter apathy, the people who are telling us they are unlikely to vote, who are they? We've tried to do a breakout there, and you see this group called urbanites. That proportion there is higher. So when the national average is 85 for those who are very interested or definitely likely to vote, we see in urbanites that proportion is lower. Among females, it's lower. And among youth who are aged 15 to 24, it's lower. That clearly shows some discrepancy or some disconnect, that we are likely to experience voter apathy amongst females, amongst the youth, and in urban areas. And then we ask this question, so if elections were held today, who would you vote for? And there are the numbers. Raila Odinga at 47%, Dr. William Ruto at 41%, George Wajakoya at 2.9%, Maure Wahiga at 0.2%, and then we have those who refused to answer that particular question. Maybe they know, or they are afraid, or they are scared, 5.1%, and then 3.8% who basically tell us that they are undecided. They don't know at now, but they will vote. They have a high intention to vote. This question is only screened to those who said that they will vote in the elections. When we get deeper into that and find who are the strongholds for these candidates, we find that Raila Odinga has a stronghold among urbanites. 51% of urbanites tell us that they will vote Raila Odinga against William Ruto. And when we look at rural, that's where William Ruto has a stronghold. 45% of those in rural will vote for William Ruto if elections were held today. Among males, that is Raila Odinga's constituency. Among females, William Ruto does better. That's a constituency for William Ruto. 15 to 24, we see higher numbers for William Ruto, 46%, 43%. So that's a constituency for William Ruto, the youth. And then among those who are older, 35 plus, a constituency for Raila Odinga. The numbers for both George Wajakoya and Wahiga Mwaure are small. We cannot shout loudly about them because they are not coming out strongly. But I need to point out that amongst females, we have a high proportion of those who are still not decided, like we've seen earlier. Next, when we look at this by regional blocks, and the regional blocks, we've created them for analytical purposes, for the purpose of interpreting this data. They are not legal terms in this case, but we see that William Ruto is doing very well in Mount Kenya region. In fact, at 66% Mount Kenya region, but also in the Rift regions. That is doing very well in Central Rift, and that is a huge voter basket at 67%. We see Raila Odinga doing very well in Coast, 56%, Lower Eastern, 67%, Nyanza North, so there's Nyanza North, we've looked at the Luo Nyanza at 89%, and then Southern Nyanza, which takes the counties of Kisii, Nyamira, and Migori. We see him doing 64%. So there's a very clear difference between those two candidates across those specific regions. When we look at their assets, these are the things that voters told us. Now, when a voter told us, I will vote for Raila Odinga or William Ruto or Mwaure, we went ahead and asked the question, why would you vote for this candidate? The points that come out for Raila, we've put them together and they all portend a level of legacy. And we think that is his strongest asset. But in terms of liability, those who would not vote for Raila Odinga, they wouldn't vote for him because of the age factor. Those who would vote for William Ruto, they are voting for a plan. Those who would not vote for William Ruto, they have a challenge with his integrity. And we can look at that in the next slide. All of them are put together and their reasons. Of course, you see it very, very clear that there are quite a number of statements that come strong for Raila Odinga. He's a Democrat, he's a liberator, he's a nationalist. He's been around for long, so it's time for him to get that chance. And of course, he's experienced in leadership. Those are things that we bring out strong because they come out for him. But for William Ruto, what stands out for all reasons is that he has a clear plan. He has a manifesto. Those who would want to vote for Ruto clearly say that he has a plan. But again, at 9%, he connects very well with the common mwananchi. That again is a point that comes out strong for him. At 2.9%, Wajakoya's plan is, those who would vote for him also feel Wajakoya has a plan, a clear one for that matter. And for Mwaure, the 0.2% also feel he has some plan and is also development conscious. But when we look at the reasons for not voting these candidates, the reasons that have been given, and we've put them across, so the 55% who would not vote for Raila, the 53% who would not vote for Raila, 32% tell us that this candidate is old. 10% tell us that I wouldn't vote for him because he's a government project. And of course, his manifesto is not as clear. Those are those who would not vote for Raila. Those who would not vote for Ruto, Dr. Ruto on the other hand, tell us that the corruption allegations against him is an integrity issue that stands against us thinking about him. And then, of course, there are other smaller percentages. There is temperament, he's hot-tempered or hostile, he's a disrespectful candidate, he's not a safe pair of hands, he's hard, not viewed as a Democrat, he's hateful, And the reasons are there, 5%, 5%, or thereabout. For Mwaura Wahiga, he is not known. That's what stands out for him. And for Wajakoya, quite some interesting reasons here. His very clear plan is being seen as anti-ethical or illegal. It's an acceptable practice, and that is 96% of those who would not vote him, 97% actually, says that bank farming is not something that is acceptable. And they also say that his manifesto is not that convincing. And then everything about his manifesto is impractical. So the reasons for voting for these candidates come out very clear, and their detractions also come out very clear. And this is what voters have told us in verbatim. Just picked them and analyzed them and presented them here. So we talked about undecided voters, and we want to just go through the undecided voters and find out who are these undecided voters and where are they. So if you compare this sample, we just cross-tab it by the total sample that we covered. These undecided voters, you see, most of them are found in the rural. Incidentally, that's quite high. In terms of the age, undecided voters, the older population, that is the 55 and above. Now, I need to stop there and say this. The youth have voter apathy. The older are undecided. A bigger proportion were undecided. Now, that's a very interesting dynamic in this particular election. In terms of gender, females are more undecided. And in terms of the regions, Western Kenya stands out, and specifically Bungoma County, where we have a high number, in fact the highest in the country of undecided voters is from Western Kenya, and a bit of it from Coast. We think the other regions are well sitting pretty, ready for the elections. And that could be the strategy for the week, focusing on where we have more of the undecided voters. We had a question in this survey where, just besides who candidates, who voters would vote for, we asked a question on what is your perception, or what, irrespective of who you vote for, who do you think will win this election? So irrespective of who you vote for on that particular day. So this is a very perceptual question. Who would you vote for? Now, this is interesting because we have cross-tabulated by the candidates that they would vote for on the top, and now who they think will win the election. Now, at total level, everybody thinks, or 54% of the voter population thinks Raila will win this election. 43% think William Ruto will win the election. Only 1.6% think Wajakoya will win this election. And 0.1% think Mwaura Wahiga would win this election. But let us look at Raila Odinga's voters, those who would vote for Raila Odinga. 97% think he will win the election. But 3% of those who would vote for Raila think William Ruto will win this election. When you look at William Ruto supporters, 8% think Raila will win this election. When you look at those who told us that they don't know or they're undecided, 62% think Raila will win this election. And those who refused to answer us, 54% think that Raila will win this election. So in one way or another, we think even with the undecided or undeclared voters, we can still feel where their intention is. And if we go by this result, then the perception, the voter perception out there is that Raila will win this election at the first round. Finally, we presented to voters some statements or some particular assertions and asked them, who do you think, or which presidential candidate do you feel his government will fulfill all this particular statement one by one? And we exposed all the 4 presidential candidates. And because of the numbers, we just picked the top 2. If you look at this, it is very, very clear that for most of the statements, voters feel that Raila Odinga is better placed to promote gender inclusivity, to foster relations between Kenya and neighboring countries, is more poised to advance and support devolution, to enhance the image of Kenya globally, is more predisposed to fight corruption, and the like. But there are two particular statements where these two candidates seem to meet. When you look at enhancing opportunities for Kenyans, both of them are almost playing at the same level, and creating opportunities for the youth, none of them stands out. They both kind of tie. However, the perception is that their level of dealing with debt for them, both of them, is still low. The commitment to deal with debt is still low. But Dr. William Ruto is perceived to come in and favor certain ethnic groups over others. So again, when you look at these statements, the two candidates do not meet anywhere. Each one of them stands out very clear with their perceptions. We have seen each of these candidates stand out very clear with their strengths and also their weaknesses. Ladies and gentlemen, I would want to bring this to a close and invite my colleague Enoch, who can now take questions, and then we'll respond to you. Thank you very much.